Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe and this is UFC Collect Profit. So today I will be providing my 5 key predictions for 2026 or what I think will happen with the UFC card market, where I think things are going to be going. Some things for the good, some things for the bad, but just kind of dealing with the realities where I see the UFC card market taking us and what to do about it. Just to provide some context in case anyone's new to the channel, I am not a dealer. I am not a distributor. I am just a long time collector of sports cards who recently got into UFC about a year ago. I've been a fan of UFC for as long as I can remember. I think I looked it up that UFC #1 actually debuted on my birthday. Not the year, but on the day of my birthday, which was kind of cool. It was UFC #1, yeah. Not that that means anything, it's just a kind of cool little anecdote. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to provide some of these predictions is that I know a lot of people in this hobby. I am friends with some people that are consigners that sell products for other people. I have friends with dealers that actually work dozens of shows a year. I know collectors that have $10 million collections. I know collectors with $100 collections. I know people that work at companies involved in the industry. I am on a lot of email lists for product distributors, so I see pricing data and I try to compile all this stuff. The point is that I don't want to give any false information or any false perspective that I am tuned into this or that I have or tuned into this at a level that I'm not. I don't want to pretend like that I run a store or a brick and mortar. I don't. I am not a distributor, like I said. I'm just a very passionate collector who does spend at least a rather significant amount of my income. Compared to other people, it may not be a lot. Compared to some people, it might be. I don't know the answer to that. But a lot of this information I'm giving is not because I have inside information or somebody leaked something to me or I know something special. This is just my opinion of information I've seen and conversations I've had and just some thoughts. So with all that out of the way, just to be transparent. And also I have a huge financial position in UFC. I probably should divulge that as well, but I have a huge financial position in every part of collectibles, from comic books, currency, football, basketball, sealed products, graded cards, game war memorabilia, like you name it, I probably have a decent position of it in collecting. It's just how I am and how my collection's evolved over the last 30 plus years. So let's get into it. Prediction #1. I believe Topps will increase UFC print runs across the board by at least 10%. So to give a little background on this, based on the data that was provided for the 2025 print runs, I'm going to give some numbers to you. So this is based on the data sheets provided by Topps for each of these respective products. So if the data sheets are wrong or they're misleading, that's on Topps. I can only go by what's provided. So Topps 2025 Topps Chrome UFC printed a total of 9.3 million cards. Topps Chrome Sapphire UFC printed a total of 530,000 cards. 25 Topps Finest printed a total of 2.54 million cards. 2025 Topps UFC Knockout printed a total of 1.03 million cards. And then 2024 Topps Royalty, which released in calendar year 25, was about 100,000 cards. So across those products, just adding it up, again, simple math, you're at about like, call it 13 to 14 million UFC cards printed across these 5 products. I didn't include Panini Combat Anthology. And I think I'm also missing one product from this list. It's Midnight. I ran the numbers for Midnight. I should have that here. Midnight wasn't a high print run because there's not that many cards per set. I want to say that was lower than 100 million because I think it's only like 7 or 8 cards in a box, and they didn't do that many boxes. So let's just like round it up and call it like 15 million total cards was printed for UFC for Topps for this. I'm not including Topps Now. That's a whole different animal. But I think going into 2020, this calendar year 2026, I think that 15 at a minimum goes to 17. It may even go to 18 or 20 million. And why is that? Licensing and production costs are increasing exponentially to keep the printers running, the equipment that's needed, but more than anything, the licensing. And the easy fix for that is just crank up the amount printed and solve that problem by getting in more revenue, selling more through distributors. Also, I think, and this is connecting a couple other dots, I think with the shift to Paramount Plus, the move away from pay-per-view, and then that also going to bullet point number 2 about the global demand, I think there's just going to be broader demand for the product, so they're going to print more to meet that demand. Topps, for any product, they're not in the scarcity business for global production runs. They're in the scarcity business for certain subsets and inserts and one-of-ones. Like, they play that game, but they want to print as many cards as they can sell to as many customers at maximum dollar amount without overprinting, destroying customer confidence. And that's kind of a tricky thing to do, but what's interesting and simpler about sports cards, like once the print run is done for sports cards, it's done. This isn't like Pokemon where they do wave 1, they can print more wave 2, wave 3, wave 18, wave 54, wave 69, whatever it is. So sports cards, like they print it and they're done. But how much they print in like the dilution of the base cards and the lower level parallels, like that plays into it too. The point is, they want reach in every customer that wants a card to be able to buy cards. It's not about global scarcity. The scarcity is more for collectors and investors and people that buy the rare stuff. So my strategy to deal with this specifically is to focus on the rare wholesale product. Go back and do your research. The production numbers are out there for a lot of these top products. Some of it isn't. As you go back, like a lot of it is guesstimates based on forum comments on blowoutforums.com and other resources online and people that have YouTube channels and that know more than me. But if you're bringing in more customers and you believe that they are going to hang around, they're not going to just want the current year. They're going to want to go back and get older stuff. Focus on the rare older stuff, buy sealed. And for the newer product that comes out this year, pay attention to what inserts in specific sets that social media gets excited about, and do a little bit of research. And maybe you don't want to, and that's part of it too. If you just want to buy what you want to buy and you're a pure collector, and you don't care if your stuff holds value, there's nothing wrong with that either. But I think what makes this hobby so fascinating is that you can buy things that you like, and with a little bit of research, I'm not saying spend 20 hours of your week doing this, but don't just throw your money randomly at all the crap that you think catches your eye. Like, have a little bit of a specific eye and a little bit of a critical eye, that if you're going to collect a certain fighter, at least if you're going to buy that fighter, buy the insert that's in demand or may hold value long term, that the dilution of the higher print runs won't kill the value. That's all my perspective on that. I think the lower print run items, like the stuff with the low serials, obviously the 101s, the out of 5s, the out of 10s, even out of like 20, I would say. But if Topps increases print runs and they don't bring in more fighters on the roster, and they're just having more parallels with the higher number value and printing more base, that gets more in collectors' hands. Younger kids get it. It's a lower cost point for them, and that's beautiful. But just be careful not to fall into the trap and just do your research on print runs. So that covers my prediction for point number 1, increase print runs by at least 10%. Going to prediction point number 2. I believe Topps will acquire Panini. Everything in the past few months put out by Topps has hinted that they're not interested in buying Panini. But the way I look at it is Panini is a wounded deer, and Topps is going to pounce like a hungry lion and just consume it and put it into its vertical integration for distribution. And I just see it. I just don't know why they wouldn't. And you can make any arguments and about the rights and how Panini is as a product, or how like what has been said in the media. None of that matters. It matters when it's said, but it doesn't. After a while, like that stuff goes away. And every day when people wake up, they get new ideas, businesses get new direction, and things shift very quickly. The one thing that is clear is Fanatics doesn't want to compete. They want to acquire. They want to win. They want to dominate. And it just makes sense to me that you'd want to get Panini under your wing to get all the things that make Panini amazing. Whether it's the Kaboom inserts or the Immaculate Flawless line and continuing that legacy. I think that's a huge possibility as well. But the main reason why I believe this, and again, I don't have any insider information on this, but Nat Turner, in my opinion, who's the CEO of Collector Holdings, is the key to this entire thing. Nat Turner collects high-end basketball inserts. That is his passion. That is his love. He must have a $10 million plus collection, $20 million plus collection. He likes the PMGs, the precious metal gems. He likes the rare, iconic stuff. In my opinion, the Immaculate Flawless line and like the Kabooms, the ones out of 10, I think he can continue that legacy for the collectors of today and what he fell in love with it when he was younger, and move that forward and just get that all under one roof. And it just makes sense to me. A lot of people don't agree with me, and you could give 20 different reasons why it's a horrible idea. It will never be done. They don't want to deal with Panini. They don't need it. They want their own whatever. And everyone thought that too, until, like, using a parallel, PSA out of nowhere bought Beckett, and nobody saw that coming. As recently as like 3 or 4 months ago, Beckett was trying to go head-to-head against PSA and putting out press releases talking about how their prices are cheaper and why would you grade with PSA, like without saying it specifically. But basically like, hey, PSA is the expensive, overpriced person with the big turnaround times. Like, we only charge the certain amount, whether it's a $1 million card or a $10 card. Like, that was Beckett's advertising as recently as like 3 months ago. And behind the scenes, Beckett and PSA had to be talking about the acquisition, but people didn't know. My point is, things change super quick, and things that we considered impossible all of a sudden happen. I think this happens, and I think it's inevitable. It's my opinion. But if it does happen, you'll be able to focus on the top tier products. And as a collector, like, I just think that's an amazing thing. I would look forward to this. I hope it happens. That's point number 2. Point number 3. Topps 2009 UFC round 1 seal boxes will reach $5,000. I've been preaching this since I started my channel. Everyone I talk to that's interested in sealed product in boxes, when they ask me, hey, where should I put my money? What should I do? My first answer is always save up $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, whatever the market is. And before you do anything, if you're serious about UFC and you believe in it, and that's a personal choice for everybody and how much they want to believe, you owe it to yourself to the first thing you add in your collection is this box. Before you buy anything else and spend your money elsewhere, you need one of these, and your collection is a core holding. These boxes do not pop up very often. In my opinion, is that there is not some UFC collector that was around in 2009, 2010, a distributor, whoever, that has hundreds of these boxes or sealed cases and they're just sitting on it, you know, rubbing their hands together, waiting for this to pop. I do not believe that. I could be wrong on that, but I just don't see it. The people that I talk to that have been in this hobby for a long time for UFC, people that know more than me, have not heard any of those stories or seen any of that happen. So based on that, my strategy is to acquire this stuff as it comes to market and be reasonable. If there's none on the market and somebody throws one at $8,000, let's try to negotiate, keep it down. If not, be patient. And if it sells at 8, then the levels go up, the market goes up, and everyone that held it and bought it cheaper before that, they win because that sets the new price. I email people on Instagram, dealers. I email websites. I blow out cards and David Adams on a semi-regular basis, just so they know my name, so they know if something comes in with the hope, and nothing's guaranteed, that they reach out to me first and give me an opportunity to buy the stuff before it goes up. So build relationships, network with people, make yourself known that you're serious about this stuff. And also, like, with a place like Blowout Cards and David Adams that do so much money, like I've spent so much money with David Adams and Blowout, like they know I'm a serious buyer. If you just email them out of the blue and you don't have a relationship or a history of buying stuff with them, like maybe you won't be on the list if they get 10 boxes. And if I'm ahead of you and they're going to offer one to me, and if you've never spent a dime with them, they may not offer it to you because you're not serious. So build a relationship with these people in the way that you see fit. Maybe it's not with money. Maybe it's just commenting and sharing with stuff on social media, or contacting them directly and showing them you're serious by building some type of rapport. But I just think this box, because it's truly scarce, it is a home run. And one day this will be a $10,000 box. I firmly believe it. But this year, I think by the end of 2026, it goes to 5,000. Prediction number 4. Individuals selling their own UFC cars nearly goes extinct. I think the days of the user that gets in the hobby and they get a couple cards, and maybe if they collect, say, John Jones, and they get a really great Conor McGregor card, the days of them going on eBay and taking the photos and listing it and going through the whole process of getting an eBay account and dealing with shipping and feedback and crazy customers and scamsters and fraudsters and lost postage and all that. I think with the way society is wired today, for things to be as simple, seamless as possible, call it the Amazonification of society. Individual sellers are going to be extinct even more than they are now. You have breakers offering consignment services. Brett Rips, who does exclusive UFC breaks on Whatnot, he offers consignment services, so that's one arm. You have social media accounts on Instagram and Twitter who you can consign with that sell through those Instagram and Twitter accounts directly to other customers because they have such large followings and they built it up over time and they've invested in building it up. They offer consignment services. But if you want to sell on eBay or individual platforms like Fanatics, there are consigners on there that you can't compete with. DC Sports 87, the rates that they offer, if you look at their rate sheets, they're paying out like 95 or 96% on sales over, I think, over $1,000. If I sell something for $1,000 on my eBay account, I'm paying like 13% plus shipping. You just can't compete anymore as an individual seller. There will still be people that enjoy the art of selling on their own and they're dealing with the customers and packing up and taking the photos and building up their feedback and doing that. And also like controlling it too. Most consignments, some of them do this, but most of the consignment shops, you have to sell by auction only. They won't do buy it nows. Now Fanatics does, because there's Fanatics buy it now through the vault of Fanatics auctions. DC Sports are strictly auctions through eBay. Twitter and IG, you can set your prices, then they lower them over time. So there's different ways to do it depending on who you want to use and what you think is the best way to maximize the dollar amount. There will still be some people that use eBay and sell it on their own. And sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to jump. They will still just set crazy prices and just wait for it and sell it on eBay. But I think with the way the world is going and how our brains are wired, and if you look at what's happening over in Asia specifically with live selling and it being quick, you have a lot of these live sellers that sell sneakers and perfume and clothing. Like they're rolling through like hundreds of items an hour, maybe more, maybe thousands of items an hour. It's like quick, volume. The day of trying to sell 2 cards a month of your own on eBay and thinking you're a sports card dealer is done. So what does that mean? I think if you're trying to be financially responsible buying cards, you need to have an idea of what your exit plan is before you buy it. I know for me, for UFC Sealed, my exit plan is so far down the road that what selling looks like now will be different by the time I decide to sell my UFC boxes in 5 years or 10 years. I'm not worried about that, but I do think about it a little bit just to go through the exercise. But if I'm buying a single that I want to grade and flip, you better be sure that I am thinking in my head, okay, I'm going to use this person on Instagram. I'm going to negotiate rates with them. I need to factor in the grading fees, the turnaround, sell it. Or if I'm going to send it to DC Sports, I need to know their turnaround times and I need to guess what my items are going to sell for so I know what bracket it falls in for the rate. So the prediction here is that the days of people selling their own cards is over, in my opinion. And I think you're using other people with better rates, better reach, more time. They have systems in place to deal with shipping and logistics and insurance claims and fraudsters. And if there's a problem, like they can figure that out. Nobody wants to deal with that anymore. They just want to buy stuff, sell stuff, flip very, very quick. Like the seamless transaction society is what we're going towards. The other one thing I would add to this, I know for me, for single cards, I'm going to try to focus on buying higher end cards, $1,000 or more. And the reason why is because there's less of a percentage charged for the consignment fees. So there's better upside. So for example, if I buy a $100 card and want to sell it for $200, I think DC Sports charges 10%. Maybe it's 11% for that, which is still cheaper than I would get charged on eBay. If I buy a $1,000 card, DC Sports only charges me 5%. So that percentage is huge. So then we back up to what I said in every other video when I talk about selling. If you're taking this seriously, I'm assuming you have sales tax exemption. So right there, depending on your state, I'm in Florida, that's 7%. And then you're buying stuff intelligently. So you want to buy higher end stuff to get the lower rate. So like you're saving percentage points there. All these little percentage savings stack up over time. And on the back end, when you compound it, and if you're running it in a semi-professional way and you're monitoring your leakage and your costs and what you're buying, you're definitely maximizing your potential upside and minimizing your downside. And I think that's kind of the whole point of this, is the reality of this. Figure out who you're going to sell with, what type of card you're dealing with, and the percentages, and just run the numbers. So that kind of concludes slide number 4. And slide number 5, my final prediction, is that UFC fighters with foreign appeal, like high foreign followings, will see higher upside compared to other UFC fighters that don't. So we know UFC, since the beginning of their company, they've expanded internationally in huge ways. They cater to the international market. I mean, the event that happened in the Sphere with the tribute to Mexico is just a little inkling of that. But, you know, that was kind of years ago. But moving into kind of current times, I see a bigger push in the Middle East, Europe, and Asia specifically. And the home country premium for UFC fighters is a real thing. And I know this because, you know, this is one of those things where it's like somebody says it and you believe it, but then you start thinking like, is this really true or is this bullshit? I saw this on my own when I joined a couple private Instagram groups, and I just sat back and I watched. Like, I belong to a couple UFC Instagram groups, and the people that buy from certain countries, like they will pay premiums in these groups versus dealing on eBay or these other things, because like they're dealing with people that they trust, they're dealing with people that are collectors like them. And for the comfort of that, like I've seen it in real time. Like they are fanatical about fighters that they connect with from their culture, from their country. And it's a real thing. And it may take a little bit of work to realize the premium, but I think as time goes by, it'll be easier through normal selling outlets. A couple examples I wanted to bring up, like I see in the Instagram chats, like the Australian fighters, the Australian collectors are like insanely fanatical in a good way. Like they love UFC and they pay up for it. So like you take somebody like Alexander Volkanovski, who's huge in the UFC collecting community, the most accomplished Australian UFC fighter ever, huge legacy. People love that dude in Australia. And, trying to buy through Australia, to Australia through other normal platforms is not easy for collectors. But if you can get involved in that community and connect, like you can make some decent money selling to them and realize some gains as well. And I think that's a positive. And like another example is like you have Volkanovski, but then another one is like Robert Whittaker, who's another, I think he was the first Australian UFC champion, if I'm not mistaken, has had a long tenure in the UFC, but deep emotional, loyal ties to Aussie collectors. And then the other example is Jack Della Maddalena, huge Australian upside, has had a rapid rise in the UFC. Australian collectors love his fighting style, has heavy support in the local area for his social media posts. And if you look on like Google Trends and you look up like these three fighters I mentioned, Maddalena, Whittaker, and Volkanovski, if you look up their Google Trends in Australia, like they're super solid. But it goes to show you like the foreign upside and the appeal, even located in the US or wherever you are in the world, if you're willing to do a little work and connect with these communities, the upside is there. You just have to take advantage of it. So those are my 5 predictions for 2026 as a UFC collector. And to kind of sum up my framework or how I'm going to approach 2026, my allocation financially will be 50% for older seal product, 25% for current seal product, 15% for key graded singles, again, focusing on cards over $1,000, and then 10% allocated to raw cards to grade. Those will be on a case-by-case basis. It'll be Topps Now cards that have significant cultural relevance and high viewership of matches and fighters with a big social media following. But also sometimes I come across cool raw cards like kabooms and things that are just, like, I know it's all about like finances and dollars, and that's part of it too, because that's the game. Like collecting is fun and collecting is a hobby and a game, but like the financial part is like the game within the game. But I can separate the two. Like buying this Francis Ngannou, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully you can. Kaboom, just because I thought it was a cool card. And I think it has a shot at getting a decent grade. And we'll see where it happens. Maybe I sell it and I can buy some seal product or make a couple bucks on it. And, maybe there's pure collectors out there that think like, I'm the reason why car prices are so high, that because I'm an investor or I like to buy stuff that goes up in value, that I'm part of the problem. And, it's a legitimate concern and, you can have your opinion, but I think if you really look at it, like none of us want to buy stuff that isn't worth something beyond just how we feel about it. I think that's that, whether we want to admit it or not, like the reason why we collect is very complicated and individual for every person. I will say that as a true collector, before I had any financial means to buy any of this stuff, I think I could be more successful financially because I know how people collect, and true collectors, because I know that. And I have that embedded in me. Versus somebody that doesn't give a crap about these cards and doesn't preserve them or doesn't study them or want to learn about them or talk to other collectors. If you just come in and you think you're going to buy and sell and make money, you might get lucky a couple of times, but you will get slaughtered and you will get destroyed. I've seen it a million times. Being a true collector in some part of your personality and perspective will always help you with this. So anyway, my allocation is going to be 75% to seal, 25% to singles overall. Also, I don't think I will ever be selling my own cards in 2026. I'm going to either be consigning them through eBay, through DC Sports, sending them Fanatics to sell through their vault or through auction, or if I get cards graded through PSA, I will sell them through PSA or accept their offers when they make offers to me on my graded cards. The only exception to that rule is very niche. So for Topps Now cards specifically for UFC or any other sport, there is a window of time where if you buy the Topps Now cards and you pick the right ones, and that's not always easy. You pick the right ones and you send it, like you get them delivered to you from Topps, and within a day you turn them around and send them to get graded. If you're the first one to get them back and you can get them up on your eBay account quick to sell them, and you can gauge the price on that, there is opportunity to make money there, and I may do that. But if I can just send it after it gets graded to my PSA vault and then set a buy it now through there, but the vault timing could be anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. That takes time. That may be the better move in the 2026. I got to see how that works out. So there still is some opportunity to do that, but it's super, super slim, and I just don't see myself doing it. The other thing I plan to focus on more than ever is when individuals dump product, specifically sealed UFC boxes, on eBay, and when they dump it via auctions. I've been stressing this a lot in my market review videos. When I look at pricing, one of the reasons why UFC prices are suppressed for sealed is because you have morons selling it by auction. And again, unless you need the money, you're trying to pay off your credit card, or you have a medical problem, or your kid needs braces, or some life event, then, you know, it is what it is. But you have to hold the line. You can't keep dumping these products. Like, only sell it at buy it nows at market price. It will sell. It just takes a little bit of time. Like, be a little patient. But when I see people dump it, I'm going to swoop in, buy everything, especially if it goes for, like, I've seen stuff go for like 25% below market at auction. And then in a week, there's a buy it now for full market or above. So there's like that 30% price gap, and that makes no sense to me. So I plan on taking advantage of that more than ever and having enough funds to do that. And also I mentioned, which kind of, I already touched on this, grade more cards, churn the grading of the cards, but especially Topps Now cards, to make like that 50 to 60 buck profit, maybe 40 bucks here and there, keep churning it. Grading more cards, focusing on $1,000 cards. So those are like the Grail cards that when I do like the John Jones top 10 cards of all time and Conor McGregor top 10 cards of all time, like part of doing the video is I'm doing research on my own and having a buy list of the cards I want to get added to my collection down the road. I'm figuring out the cards. I'm setting up price points on a spreadsheet. I send my eBay alerts and I just wait. I also check out every auction house, Fanatics, Heritage, Golden. There's a new service that came out called Auction Wire, which I want to check out too, where it's supposed to consolidate all the searches across all the auction houses into one platform. So that would be amazing, just to save a ton of time. Instead of me wasting my life searching for cards and like every night looking up auctions, like it'd be nice to get some time back there. But like again, this is a hobby I'm dedicated to. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. And the hunt is what, you know, makes it interesting. Because every day you wake up, you never know what's going to pop up in the world of collecting, and something you haven't seen for 3 years all of a sudden is available. Like, that's kind of cool. Like the hidden treasure kind of thought process. So anyway, that concludes the video for my predictions for 2026 and what I plan to do myself. Please like and comment if you got a little something out of this video. I appreciate it. The algorithm for YouTube rewards that. Please let me know your plans for 2026. What do you see happening? What are your plans for collecting? What Grail cards are you going to chase? I didn't add that here. I probably should have mentioned that. I would love to add, you know what? I don't want to say it yet. I'm going to do a separate video on that of like my top 5 cards I want to acquire in 2026, or my top 10 cards. So we'll say that for another time. But, you know, leave your comments down below for what you see. What do you think is going to happen? You agree with my predictions? Am I totally insane? Am I totally off base? Please subscribe to the channel for daily UFC videos. And that's all I got tonight. Take care of yourself. man, just remember to enjoy this stuff. I see a lot of people online post like getting stressed out dealing with people on eBay, or they're selling a car for $200 and somebody offers $100 and they get offended and they lose their mind and they go on this rant and they think everyone's trying to scam them or people aren't paying the right comps or whatever. Like, just keep this stuff in perspective and just enjoy the hobby for what it is. And money's important. It's always going to be when it's tied to the stuff. But don't forget the reason why you got into collecting in the first place. But also remember, like down the road, and like some of these things, I'm going to end the video soon, but like some of these things, these 5 predictions that I have, like I'm tuned into this and I'm wired to take action. There are people that talk a lot and they put out there what they're going to do in the world. And it's like when they say they're going to do something, that's enough, but they don't actually do anything. I'm sure you know people like this in your life, and maybe you've even been, maybe you are like this now, or maybe you used to be. I think the older I get, the more I realize that there's been so many times in my life where I've said I'm going to do this when it comes to collecting. I'm going to buy certain things. I'm going to pay attention to these things, and I don't do it. Or I have a thought and it slips out of my mind and I forget. If you have conviction in something and you believe in a product, or you believe in 2025 Topps Chrome UFC, or you believe in 2009 UFC Knockout, you have the thought in your head for a reason. Like, make a note of it somewhere so you don't forget. Because more often than not, what happens is that if you're tuned into this stuff, your intuition is probably more right than wrong. And if you forget to do anything about it, and you just let it slide, like everyone in the world has these amazing thoughts and hopes and dreams, but it's just words. That you don't take action, and in a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, you look back and you're like, wow, I should have done that. Or I should have bought Bitcoin, or I should have bought Tesla stock, or I should have bought NVIDIA stock, or I should have bought that Conor McGregor 1 of 1 when it popped up, or whatever it is for you. Like for 2026, let's make a little promise between us that we're going to have less of that. The things you want to do and believe in when it comes to collecting, see it through, buy the card, buy the box, get it in your collection. That's all I got. Have a good night.